In this video, I'm going to install OpenSSH on a Windows computer, and then I will remotely connect to it from a Windows client computer and a Linux computer. And I've got all these steps written out on the website that I'll link to, and during this video I'll kind of bounce back and forth. So the first step is installing OpenSSH, and you can do that with PowerShell. I'm going to copy and paste this command, open up PowerShell, and then just paste that command and click the run button. And you can also install OpenSSH going through the add remove features, and I will show that here in a second. And I did have to give my server internet access for this command to work. Okay, the install is complete, so now OpenSSH is installed on this Windows server. But you can also go through add remove programs, optional features, add a feature, and then just search for OpenSSH. Since I've already got it installed, it's not showing up, but it would show up here if it's not installed, and you can install it through the add remove options. So now that it's installed, you need to start the service with a couple commands. You can start the service with this command, and then it's a good idea to set the service to start automatically. That way, if the server reboots, you don't have to go manually start the service every time. So I'll just run these two commands. So the service is started, and the service is set to run automatically. And then you can run get service -name sshd to check the service. And there you can see the OpenSSH server is running. I've got the firewall disabled on this server, but if you have yours enabled, you'll need to make sure you enable SSHD in the firewall for clients to connect to it. So at this point, you should be able to connect from a client computer to this server, to your server running SSH. And if you go into computer management and local users, and the users you have in here will be able to connect to your SSH server. So I've got an administrator account and this non-administrator account that connect. There are some commands that you can use to control who has access to your server. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but let's jump over to my Windows computer, and I'll open up the command prompt. And Windows 10 and 11, I think it started in 2018. I don't remember the build number. OpenSSH client is installed by default, so there's a good chance you don't even have to install the client. It's probably already included with your Windows 10 build. If not, I've got a separate article on how to install it. It's super easy. You can go through add remove features and just install the client. But to connect to the server, I'll do SSH and then my user and then the IP address of the server. And the first time you connect, it's going to ask you to accept the connection, and this will add it into a known host file. So next time you connect, you won't get prompted to accept the fingerprint. So I'll type in yes, and then the password. Okay, I forgot my password, so I had to type it in a couple times. So once you connect, you should see the IP address change to the host name. And what I like to do is type in the command hostname to verify that I'm on the server, and that's the name of the server. So now I've got an SSH connection from my Windows 10 computer to the Windows server running OpenSSH. So from here I can run commands. I can change the PowerShell and start running PowerShell commands, or whatever on the server. So these commands I'm running are running on the local server. So let me jump over to a Linux computer, and I'll show you that you can connect to the Windows server from a Linux client or Linux operating system. So it's the same command, SSH, your username, and then the IP address, or you can use hostname if you've got DNS record set up. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. When I tried to connect the first time, I'd already connected, so it identified, so I uninstalled the OpenSSH server, and then I've reconnected, so it had the known host file that I had to delete to reconnect. So now I put in my password. So now I'm connected to the Windows server from a Linux client. And again, I'll do hostname just to verify I'm on the remote server. I can switch to PowerShell and start running PowerShell commands on the Windows server from a Linux computer. So as you can see, it's very easy to set up and get started with OpenSSH, and that's the basic config is password authentication, how it works by default, but it's a good idea to use SSH Key Pairs because passwords are pretty insecure. They can be hacked, they can be brute force attacked. So with SSH keys, it's a much more secure connection. You have a private key, there's a public key on the server. So let's walk through that. And again, I'm jumping on my website to go through the steps. So first, on the client, you generate and install the SSH Key Pairs. So I will just copy this command. And I will just open up a regular PowerShell command prompt without administrative privileges. Okay, there it goes. I had the wrong command. Oops. That's on the server. So let me stop this, jump back over to my computer. So it's going to generate the key pair. It's going to put it into my profile. Okay, I've remembered I've had trouble generating the key pair with the old PowerShell version. So this is PowerShell 7, and now the command's working. So if you have troubles generating the key pair, try running it with PowerShell 7. So by default, it's going to save the key pair into your profile into a .ssh folder. You can change it. I'm going to keep it that to the default path. And then you can enter a passphrase, which I will do. This just adds additional security. And if you don't enter a passphrase, you'll be able to authenticate with no password as long as the private key and public key is set up. Okay, so the public and private keys are created, and you can view those by going into your profile, users, my profile, and there should be a .ssh folder, and there is the private and public key. The file without an extension is the private key, and then this .pub file is the public key, and this file is what gets copied over to the server. So this is where it gets a little weird. So if you're a standard user, the public key gets copied to your profile onto the server, but if you're a administrator, it gets copied to a different path. It gets copied into program data SSH administrator underscore authorized underscore keys. So I've got both instructions on my website, but I'm just going to walk through doing it in administrator because in most cases you're probably going to be an administrator on the server, so you're going to want to set it up this way. So just copy this command into PowerShell, and you're going to want to change username here to the username on your local computer, because it's going to copy this public key from your local computer over to the server into C program data SSH, and then it's going to copy it into this file, and then change the username and server name. And then this just will be the IP address of the server. So it's going to copy, again, it's going to copy public key from your local computer, which is this file right here, and it's going to copy it using the administrator account on the remote server into this path right here. So let me run this. So I think it's complaining because I haven't connected yet with the administrator account, so it's barking about the host identification. So let me actually I was running the command from the server, so that was a mistake. This command needs to be run on your client, not from the server. So now that I'm on the client, type in the password. No such directory. Oops, got the wrong user profile. Okay, so it looks like it completed, so let me jump over to the server. And if I go into C program data SSH, you should see the administrators underscore authorized underscore keys. So it's copied the public key from the client computer over to the server into this file here. So the next step is you need to change the permissions on those keys, or you'll probably get permissions denied. So let me just show you that, because next you need to change the permissions on the keys, and I'll come back to the permissions denied. That probably won't happen once you change these permissions. So you can just copy and paste these commands here, and you'll need to do this on the server. Okay, permissions changed. So this just changed the permissions on that key file that was just created. So once the permissions are changed, you should be able to authenticate with the public and private key. And see, now it's prompting me for the passphrase instead of the password. And again, if you didn't enter a passphrase, it will just automatically sign you in without having to enter in a password or passphrase. Okay, so now I'm authenticated with the private key, and I'm connected to the remote server. So at this point, the public key authentication is configured, but it's a good idea to disable password authentication, because you could still authenticate with passwords if you fail to authenticate with your SSH key. So on the server, and I've got this got screenshots of it here, but go into the C program data SSH, and you're going to want to open this config file. Open it with Notepad, and then you want to change public key authentication, uncomment that, and then you want to change password authentication, uncomment that, change this to no, save this file, and then you're going to want to restart the SSH service with this command. So once it's restarted, password should no longer will be accepted, and your server will only accept public and private key authentication. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I kind of bounced around a little bit, but again, I've got this step-by-step laid out on my website that I'll link to, step-by-step with screenshots. I think it's very easy to follow, and once you walk through it, it's pretty easy to set up. The weird thing is, again, just Microsoft, how they do a standard user versus an administrator user for setting up the public keys. But in most cases, you'll probably be an administrator, so you'll want to follow the administrator steps. And if you don't have that proper permission set up on the key file on the server, you'll probably get some kind of error like this, permission denied. But once you fix the permissions, that should go away. And let's see, there is an additional step I have on my website, and this is a Microsoft recommendation. This will securely store your private key on your client. That way you can delete it, because if somebody was able to grab that public key, like for example, somebody got into my computer and grabbed my private key, this file here, they could authenticate to the server with that if they knew the passphrase. I mean, if you didn't have a passphrase, they could literally just use that file to authenticate. So these additional steps will hide that key and securely store it with these commands here. Again, that's a Microsoft recommendation. So that should be it. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, and if you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.